go. Let's go to space.
Humanity's expansion into space will happen much faster than you think. The availability of microgravity and partial artificial gravity will enable activities and ventures that you just can't do on Earth. Activities such as manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, tourism, and many others. The question is, what are the steps that move us toward that? We're in the midst of the first step right now, a dramatic decrease in the cost of launching to space. This enables activities to be profit-making now that 10 years ago were uneconomical. The next step, these payloads need some place to go, a destination. And the great majority of these activities will need pressurized vessels containing air, they need water, they need power, they need thermal control so you don't get too hot or too cold. And of course, particular commercial activities require specialized facilities and services. Finally, we need to bring some of these payloads back to Earth. Right now, the only facility providing all those is the International Space Station. But the problem is the ISS was designed as a research and development facility, not as a full-scale production facility. Space is limited, thermal control is limited, power is limited, and because of that, access is limited. That means there are thousands of commercial missions bottlenecked by the ISS and clamoring for an alternative. That is the need Above is addressing. Meet Prometheus, a modular infrastructure platform that meets a wide range of government and commercial applications. Prometheus offers in months instead of years access to custom pressurized environments, facilities, and services to support the needs of on-orbit product development and manufacturing at a fraction of the price of the ISS. Above greatly reduces costs by hosting multiple payloads on each flight with automation and using low-risk commercial off-the-shelf technologies. COTS technologies are very important because they avoid the cost, schedule, and performance risk of developing new technologies. Prometheus enables the development of the next generation of commercial space companies and is the cornerstone of our development program leading to long-term habitable space stations. The key to securing first-mover advantage is heritage. The Above team, with its decades of experience in spaceflight, space technologies, and mission architecture, is ideally positioned to take advantage of commercial off-the-shelf technologies, putting them together in creative ways to do things that have never been done before. Between myself and Robert Miyake, we have enough experience in spaceflight missions and operations to know what works in space and what doesn't work in space, and this greatly reduces the risks for the missions that we're designing in the future. And that's why the Department of Defense has entrusted us with a contract to develop our Archimedes platform, a platform that is rapidly deployable and a flat surface that supports many different applications such as radar, high data rate communications, and energy transmission and generation. My colleagues and I started Above because we realized we had a fast track to allow humanity to move to space and to make a profit doing so. We already have the letters of commitment to make this profitable from the very first mission. Prometheus is the next step in a wide range of critical infrastructure solutions. This is happening. We are going. And in phase 2, we'll begin to offer return of payloads to Earth. If you believe in the mission of providing more space in space, join us.
Hello and welcome everyone to this Fridays with Above. I am Tim Alatorre, Chief Operating Officer, and we've got a great turnout today for this event. Very glad to see you here, and a lot of exciting things have been happening. It seems like every time we do these, exciting things are happening, and that's true. First off, I just want to let you know that at the end of this month, today is December 1st, 2023. Oh, I got November 30th. Got the wrong date on this slide. If you're watching this later, it's December 1st. It's December 1st. At the end of this month, myself and Dr. Tom Spilker, who we just saw in the intro video, and our CEO, Rhonda Stevenson, we will be doing an end-of-the-year wrap-up call where we will have all of our investors and anybody who's interested come on and we're going to talk about all the great things we've done this year and lay out the plans for 2024, which there's a lot of exciting things, which we'll touch on today. So for those who are watching live, feel free to drop your comments into the chat there. I will try to get to as many as we can before we wrap up today. Lots of things to go over. So first off, I saw a comment already in chat about the warrants. So we did wrap up our raise earlier this year where we were offering warrants matching for prior investors who had participated in our first two raises. And I'm excited to announce that this week, those have gone live on the Silicon Prairie platform. So if you have an account on Silicon Prairie already, which if you qualified for warrants, you have an account, you will see there when you log in that your warrants are now available for you to exercise. Now you have until January 1st, 2025 to exercise those. And you can do it in the same way as you did your prior investments on Silicon Prairie. You go in there, you click the button that says exercise, and then you can fund that. And then once that transaction is completed, we will manually remove the warrant from your account. So if you go in there and you try to exercise the warrants multiple times, it's not going to let you do that. But those warrants will stay there visible until the full transaction is completed. That way, if there's some problem, you're not losing your warrants. And we do have, careful records. Silicon Prairie is acting as our transfer agent now for all of our shareholders. And so they are, keeping meticulous records. It took us a while to get everything on the platform because we tripled and quadruple checked. They went through extensive checks just on the software side, both in a demo environment and in a live environment, making sure everything was working as it should. And right now, everything seems to be working. So currently, we are manually approving exercising of warrants, and that's only so we can pressure or stress test the software and address any issues that may come up. But over the coming weeks, once we're confident everything is going smoothly, they'll be auto-approved. So when you go to exercise, there may be up to a 48-hour delay just for us to get in there and approve that transaction. Also, you may have noticed we opened another raise on the Silicon Prairie platform. And this one, if you notice, we've completely redone the offering page. This is now focused specifically on Prometheus, which Tom just explained. And we've got some beautiful new renders. New renders coming soon also of Prometheus. And we're raising funds for that. So Prometheus, which I'll get to in a minute in more detail, is our next real big milestone here. All right, so hardware progress. This is where the exciting stuff comes in. As you know, we've been working under a couple of AFWERX contracts, and the ongoing one is the Archimedes platform, which you just saw a render of in orbit. I think that's the first time we've publicly unveiled an image of it. And so that's ongoing, as well as we did some additional testing at Marsh Space Flight Center and more to come. So our SBIR, the AFWERX project for the Archimedes platform, which is the beamed energy platform, we had a demo event this last month in our Huntsville facility, and we invited several industry players, commercial companies, government representatives. We had an excellent turnout. We had people from a variety of different institutions, including NASA. And in our facility, these are images from our facility. We demoed beaming power from a transmitter to the Archimedes platform, and then we showed a couple of different scenarios and how that power could be used. And one of those, I'll play a video real quick. We beamed energy across our shop to the Archimedes platform, and then Archimedes did this. So we had Archimedes fire a laser, which shot some balloons on the opposite side of the wall. So small little demonstration of what could be done with power beaming on orbit. And we're continuing to work on that. That contract wraps up in May of next year. So there's still quite a bit of work we're doing on that. We're doing additional analysis on the results of some of the testing we did previously. We have a second iteration of the hardware based on lessons learned from the first iteration that we are continuing to work on in our facility. And then we are also working to do some vacuum chamber tests at Marshall, and hopefully that'll happen within the next couple months. It's just scheduling vacuum chamber time is always the challenge. And then we also, which I'll talk about more later, but we have a mission coming up in the spring, and I think March is the launch date to the ISS. And one of the things that we will be sending up is some of the materials and components for Archimedes so we can test those in the space environment. Also, this last month, we continued additional testing of our Project IOTA at the NASA flat floor facility at Marshall Space Flight Center. And it is always so much fun to be there at the facility. The staff there, in fact, in this image here on the right, you see Tom and Emma. They're the two senior people at the flat floor. There's another gentleman who's out sick. I guess maybe he's senior to Emma, but they were the ones there on site helping us and observing and just watching what we were doing, making sure that we were doing what we were saying we were doing. They also had some interns there, or an intern this time, and they're always very helpful as well. So that testing at Marshall, we tested our IOTA Phoenix platform. So earlier this year, we tested IOTA. IOTA Phoenix, Tom coined that title because we tore down IOTA and rebuilt it in a new way. And so now it's IOTA Phoenix. And so earlier this year, we did 2 degrees of freedom movement on the flat floor. And this last test, we did 5 degrees of freedom movement, which is about as good as you can get unless you're in a parabolic flight or a drop test or on orbit. And given the scale, the size of IOTA, parabolic flights and drop tests really aren't going to work for us. So this is as good as we can get until we get on orbit. So the Mark II IOTA test article was built on our facility here in Huntsville, and it was a marked improvement and a step up from what we did previously. We redesigned the structure so that we could test the 2nd gen control software, and we are now working on Gen 3, and we hope to be able to test that. Rhonda, our CEO, has given us the target date of testing it again in February. So that's the goal, is to get that next gen software in a couple months. We also introduced with this new platform our 1st generation dynamic balancing system. And this is technology I'm really excited about. It's something that Tom and I conceptualized for Voyager some time ago. And if you recall some of those really early Voyager how to build them videos that are no longer, I don't think, available on the internet. We've taken those old ones down, but we talked about the water ballast and the dynamic ballasting systems that were going to be on Voyager. We have now the 1st generation iterations of those ballast systems, not functioning exactly as they would on Voyager, because IOTA and what we're doing right now is a little different. But it's exciting to see those taking shape and actually seeing the conceptual move into engineered parts that are functioning. We also introduced nutation dampeners, which are really important when we're looking at rotating spacecraft. And so that's the 1st gen of those as well. So there's a lot of components that are coming together now to provide 3-axis stabilized and rotational control of free-flying spacecraft. We also upgraded our propulsion system. Again, moving from 2 degrees of freedom to 5 degrees of freedom, introduced additional challenges, which we are aware of, in balancing the system. And so the upgraded propulsion system allows for better balancing of the propellant, which is something that's really important when you have a large spacecraft. And that was building on the validation of the propulsion system. If you recall, Tom designed them. And then we manufactured, tested, and validated our own rocket thrusters, which are used on IOTA. And then this last month, we had a capabilities demonstration, again with industry partners and government representatives, showing what we could do with the IOTA platform on the flat floor. And that was great. Here, Tom is holding up a little gyroscope. He's explaining to the crowd, the audience there, gyroscopic effects and how gravity affects spacecraft moving in orbit. And we demonstrated that on the flat floor. Actually, we were able to demonstrate the gyroscopic effects. And IOTA, everything we're doing there on the flat floor, this all feeds forward to Prometheus, Station in a Box, Pioneer, Voyager, and what comes next. So this is all really exciting hardware development. This is part of the D for large-scale habitable platforms. And this is our current roadmap. This is what we're working on. So we have Prometheus, which is coming up this coming year, and we have a lot of commercial interest in this platform. More than likely, we will have the first launch in 2024, and we're already looking at a second launch of a very similar platform in early 2025, just based on demand. Archimedes, which is the platform we're developing under the Department of Defense contracts, and then Station in a Box, Pioneer, and Voyager. So we have a very comprehensive roadmap now showing near-term profitability and commercial applications, filling a real near-term demand, as Tom mentioned in the video. There's a lot of demand for the type of platform that is Prometheus, and that all scales to habitable platforms and very large long-term habitable platforms. So this coming year, we have 2 missions. We have in, I think, March, again, we don't have the launch date finalized, but it's targeting March for a mission to the International Space Station. And we've already delivered all the hardware and everything that is going on that flight. That was delivered a couple months ago. And I'm excited to announce that all of our investors who had invested up until that point, you're coming with us. We've put all of your names on that mission at the International Space Station. And so we will let you know, we'll create a site where you can go on there and do a search to see what contributions you have that are on there. We also are sending up all of the art from our art contest that we held last year, as well as some other fun little things, which we will make announcements about in the future. But you are coming with us, so thank you for being part of that. And then Prometheus, which we're aiming for at the end of, well, not the end of next year, but in 2024, we are also taking you with us on that as well. And if you go to the investment page at invest.above.space, there's a couple of perks. It's at the very bottom of the page, or when you go to invest, I think it lists those as well. But there's a couple of different ways you can participate. If you've invested over $10,000 in any of our raises cumulatively, your name will be engraved on the spacecraft. And then there's some other ways that you can participate as well. So, go there and check that out. But again, we are taking all of you with us. We are excited and grateful for your contributions in helping us get this far. And we're taking you with us all the way to Voyager and beyond. So you will be a part of that. So with that, we will open up to questions. I already saw a bunch of ones in here. Let's see here. Okay, going back, gotta scroll up. Okay, lots of welcomes, people from all over the world. Thanks for being here. So Aiden, he's got a question here. What is the operational lifetime of Prometheus, and can any components be reused on larger stations? So that second one's an easy one in that Prometheus isn't designed to be a long-term, multi-year platform. It's a short-term platform. The aim with Prometheus is to allow companies to go up, perform a mission, produce a product, gather data, and then return that quickly into a commercial marketplace. So we're talking in the scale of weeks to months for Prometheus, and we're envisioning, many of these going up per year. Multiple can go up even on one launch. We're looking at, potentially 2 to 3 on a launch at a time. And again, looking at rapid turnaround, regular cadence, and repeatability. As far as what can be reused, it's really the knowledge and the skills and the software and the processes that could be transferred into future spacecraft. So there's really not, we wouldn't keep it up there and build off of it. That's not that kind of platform. Now, Station in a Box, that is a platform that you can build off of. Pioneer, those are platforms that we intend to have up for long periods of time that you can continue to grow and scale. Michael's got a question about warrants. I think I've answered that. Go to Silicon Prairie, and you can do that by going to invest.above.space and logging in, and you should see your warrants there. If not, send us a message. You can email me directly at tim@above.space. That's my current email address. And also, you can email the Silicon Prairie team. They'll help you out if you're not seeing it. Oh, let's see. We've got. So Jarrett's asking if he can take a trip to Huntsville. Oh, I forgot. I can pull these up on screen. Jarrett's asking if he can take a trip to Huntsville and can he tour the above facilities. I was actually just talking with Rhonda about that this morning. I would love to have another investor event. I'm hopeful we can do something in the spring. in the next couple months. And it'd be great to have you in. You can see IOTA, you can see Archimedes, you can see D-Star, which is there. There's a lot of fun stuff in our lab, in our shop there. You can see the thrusters fire, and there's some fun things we can do. Nothing on the calendar yet. John's saying that the shares are still in Net Capital. So Net Capital still has our site up there, and we're working with them to get that removed. They are no longer the record holder or the transfer agent. Anything that's there is no longer official. The official records are on invest.above.space. Let's see here. So Kyle's asking, will there be another crowdfunding round? Yes, it is open now. It is live. And I would recommend exercising your warrants first, because if you qualified for warrants, you're getting a discount. But yes, it is open. Tell your friends. We are currently raising funds for Prometheus. Let's see here. So Russ is asking a question: if Silicon Prairie is synonymous with invest.above.space, and yes, Silicon Prairie is our that's the software platform. They're the service provider. Invest.above.space is just the custom URL to get you to that platform. And if the warrants aren't showing up, send me an email. That means there's probably an issue with an email address that didn't match, and there's some verification that we need to do between your two identities. And I'm guessing Net Capital versus invest.above.space and identities. So send me an email. We'll get it sorted out. The team's really responsive. If the emails match, it should be automatically showing up. And that's also for Petro's question. If the warrants aren't showing up, send me a message and we'll get it straightened out. Russ says found. Let's see. He said findable on investor dashboard under my account. Okay, good. So go there. Check that out. Petro, maybe they're there for you as well. So Blair is asking, for those of us who invested in Above Space Development Corporation through the Silicon Prairie platform and who have subscribed, do we need to exercise a warrant as well? So no, if you invested previously in our very first two raises on Net Capital, then in the last raise, you probably would have qualified for warrants. If you've just invested in the last raise, on invest.above.space, and you hadn't in previous raises, then there would be no warrants to exercise. If you're subscribed for a regular investment, that's it. You're done. Let's see here. Yeah, so Mark's asking the same question about prior shares not showing up. Send me a message. It's probably just email account differences between the two different platforms. Let's see. Jeff is asking, how long... I'm not going to put this one up on the screen, but it's a funny question. How long till you develop a Death Star equivalent laser? That is not our focus. There are other companies developing very powerful lasers. Our focus is getting more energy on orbit, more communication on orbit, because energy and communication, data transfer, is critical if we're going to be moving industry and people into space. So that's what we're focused on. So John's asking a good question here. What does IOTA do? So IOTA is a test platform, and what that allows us to do, using similar propulsion systems to what we would be using on orbit. And I say similar because not everything is space rated. For example, our valves aren't space rated. They're cheaper if they're not. But using very similar systems, we are able to test and iterate on our software. So controlling spacecraft in the ways we want to do it has not been done before. There's a lot. You can go out and there's dozens of websites where you can buy avionics platforms for small CubeSats and small sats that do 3-axis stabilized flight. That's not what we want to do ultimately. And so we are having to develop new software, new algorithms, new control systems. And so IOTA is letting us do that at scale on a platform that, in a test facility that removes most of the friction environment. And I say most because there's still friction. We're dealing in an atmosphere, but it allows us to validate all that. And so it's fantastic. And that's one of the great things with our partnership with NASA. And the other day when we were in there, I was referring to them as something else, and one of the senior NASA people, he says, Tim, above is our partner. We are partners. Contractually, we're partners. We're in this with you. We want you to succeed. And that's fantastic because they're lending their expertise, their experience, and billions of dollars of facilities. We don't have to go out and build all these test facilities. They're there available for us. Alrighty, let's see. Explain how Chris is asking. Explain how OAC shares on net capital are handled, please. Ignore net capital. That's no longer a thing. All your shares should now be recorded on invest.above that space. That is the official record. And I realize there's confusion. To be honest, everything with net capital has been confusing from the start, which is one of the reasons why we've moved away from them, and we're trying to create a not confusing system for you. Let's see. So Russ is asking, what are you permitted to tell us about how the beamed energy system affects Above's financial projections? So right now, we have a lot of interested customers in beamed energy, and the economic impacts are still being assessed. I can say that in the end of the year-end report that is available on our website and on the investment page, we did not take into account revenue from Archimedes and the beamed energy, but I think in the coming months, as those customers start to solidify and we start to put dollars behind it, it could have a significant impact. Like I said, there's a lot of demand for that. Okay, Jeff's asking, how much usable space does Prometheus offer? So as visualized right here on this image, each Prometheus craft has approximately 90 U of internal payload space. So that's 1 U in kind of CubeSat satellite terms is a 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter cube. So we have 90 of those. There's also external payload areas which can go beyond that. Let's see. Here, we'll pull up this next one. Benny asks, doesn't everything that has electricity in space have its own energy gravity within because of the electrical charge? So not gravity in the sense of gravity. Gravity is an effect caused by mass. But yes, anything with an electrical charge, current running through wires, creates a magnetic field. And that magnetic field does create forces. So there's a control system called magnetorquers, which take that, where they create electrical magnetic fields, electrically induced magnetic fields to orient a spacecraft using the magnetic field of the Earth as something to push off of. And so that's something that we actually, as we're designing Prometheus, we are taking into account where we're inducing magnetic fields, because that would affect how the spacecraft operates. But the propulsion system on Prometheus, which is it's a cold gas thruster system, far overpowers the effects of the magnetic fields. However, the magnetic fields do affect precession and orientation of the craft. So, we don't want to be constantly having to correct the orientation. So we try to minimize those magnetically or electrically induced magnetic fields. Let's see. John's asking, Prometheus, % of firm customer LOIs in hand now. We actually have letters of commitment to fill the first Prometheus. And we are now working to finalize the terms and get contracts and deposits. So I'm not going to. So I would say, from a letter of commitment is a bit stronger than a letter of intent. Like there's dollar signs attached to it. They want to fly with us. Not quite a service contract yet. We are still working through some of the technical details with our launch provider. And then once we get that, we'll have the mission parameters nailed down and we can affect the service contracts and get deposits. So until there's money exchanging hands, I wouldn't call any of that firm. We're about as firm as we can get as of today. Let's see. So John's asking, has manufacturing of long lead time items begun? So we're watching those timelines carefully. We have not begun fabrication of long lead time items. more than likely that's going to kick off around January 1. We've identified those long lead time items. We were having calls yesterday with several of our vendors, just trying to figure out how much needs to be advanced ahead of time to get those done. But yeah, we're watching that very closely. John's also asking, how does payload downmass? I'm not at liberty to talk about that. Phase 1 will not have downmassing capabilities. And then John's asking, station in the box, how long for the 2024 feasibility study? No time frame has been attached to that yet. We're trying to nail down that agreement in the next couple weeks. We actually had a call this morning with one of our subcontractors who's going to be working on that feasibility study. So we're waiting for their quotes to come in so we can put together the final contract. But I would hope it would conclude by the end of next year. And then again, this feasibility study is for one client. There's several others who are interested. Okay, John's asking lots of questions. You said he would. We're about out of time here. I'm gonna try to get to as many as I can here. John's asking, is Prometheus fully automated or is there a human element? There's no people on board, but there will definitely be a human element as far as monitoring and starting different operations. So the platform itself will be able to do some automated functions like maintaining orientation, for example, and maintaining communications. But we will be monitoring exactly what's happening with the craft and initiating different payload operations. So we have a number of customers who are going to be flying. Not all of their payloads can run their operations at the same time. They have different objectives, different needs, and so we'll be spacing those out, running them, and manually initiating those when our clients are ready also. Let's see. We'll just keep going down these. John says, station in the box, build an empty above station in the box for demonstration purposes. If you're talking about a terrestrial version that would be used for human factors design, not just for demonstration version, yes, we are working on that. That is something that is in the works. Jason's asking, will the space hotel be stationed in the exosphere? So by this, I'm guessing you mean Voyager. We have not determined exactly, the flight parameters for Voyager yet. That's as if you've been following us for some time, you know that the schedule on that is being pushed out due to commercial interest. So that will be the primary driver of where that first Voyager is put. Station in the box. John's asking, habitable? Yes. Yeah, that would be the goal of station in the box. The idea there being that more than likely it would be habitable for short-term occupation initially, and then scale as customer demand and commercial interest requires for long-term habitability. And then John's also asking, station in the box, same down mass solution used? No. So station in the box, that actually we can dock traditional vehicles to it. So Dream Chaser, Cygnus, and similar vehicles. So we can down mass significantly more mass from station in a box. Prometheus is going to have a custom down massing solution. Let's see. Little is asking another investor question. Did our login transfer over to invest.above.space? No, unfortunately, we do not have any sort of interoperability with NetCapital's platform. So just create a new account on invest.above.space to make everyone's life easier. Use the same email you used on the NetCapital site. And then once you see all your records show up, then you can change to whatever email you want. Let's see. Michael's saying a friend tried to invest, but had problems with getting the site to accept his money. If it's from Silicon Valley Bank, that's, who knows? That bank's, no, I don't know. Reach out to the Silicon Prairie support team and or just send me an email and I can forward it on to them and we'll get it sorted out. Let's see. Russell asking, should we have already received instructions for migration from NetCapital? We've tried to get the word out, and apologies if that message hasn't gotten to you. There's nothing you need to do to migrate except for create a new account, again, with preferably the same email address, and everything should Should magically move over. Let's see. Michael's asking, will the large stations be developed as transfer stations for future lunar bases? Absolutely. Yeah, that is definitely one of the use cases. Even Station in a Box and Pioneer can be used as transfer stations for staging, for return of materials from the moon. Yeah, there's all those use cases are definitely in there. Let's see here. George is asking, are the investments in above space somehow different than investing in each individual roadmap model, i.e. Prometheus, Archimedes, Station in a Box, Pioneer, Voyager? Yes and no. So we have the way these the Reg CF funds work is we have some discretion over how the funds are used. This particular raise, we're specifically saying we are raising funds for this next mission for Prometheus. That is the goal of this raise, and so really you're investing in the whole company, but we're trying to use these funds specifically for Prometheus. That's the goal. Let's see. Could Archimedes relay power beamed up by electric sky back down to receiver on Earth, or perhaps in a future iteration of Archimedes? Yeah, current Archimedes could do that. Yep. So power relaying, essentially. Yeah. Greg's asking, who are your main competitors? Is CubeSat competitive with Prometheus? So CubeSat is a format. CubeSat was actually developed by my alma mater, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and it's just a interoperable format for very small satellites. Prometheus does have some competition in the marketplace, and we're watching that very carefully. Again, the market is so big right now for what Prometheus is looking to do generally that there's really not an issue there. And then Prometheus is going to do some special things that only we're doing. Okay, I'm going to take 2 more questions here. They keep coming in, but I can't answer them all today. Aiden's asking, with Prometheus, will the experiments in question be launched within the satellite? How will the data experiments be returned to Earth? So phase 1 of Prometheus, which is the launch coming up here this next year, will not have sample return. It's just data return. And so we are providing all the communications and control of the spacecraft. So our customers flying payloads, they're just worrying about what they're trying to do. They're not having to worry about the communication piece of it. We're doing that. Okay, let's see here. One more question. And let me see if there's anything that I haven't answered yet. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, will Prometheus be in low Earth orbit? Yes, we are planning low Earth orbit. This first mission will be what's called a mid-inclination orbit. And so it's somewhere in the ballpark of 45 degrees and around 550 kilometers. That's this first one. Oh, okay, Russ has got one more question. I'm going to answer this one more question because I think this is a good one, and we'll end on this. So thanks, Russ. Russ is asking, how does Archimedes bridge Prometheus and Station in a Box? So it doesn't. In the graphic, it's just kind of a nice timeline, really, because Prometheus is launching first, and Archimedes will most likely be launched next, or after Prometheus. Not sure if it will be exactly the second mission after the first Prometheus, but it will be in that sequence. Archimedes doesn't really provide directly too much to Station in a Box, except that with those power beaming capabilities, we could host significantly more industrial activity on a platform such as Station in a Box without having to mount those solar panels directly to Station in a Box. So not a direct translation. Well, thank you all again for coming today. Great turnout, and yes, please, make sure you're not blocking emails from info@above.space. That's the email where most of our announcements come from. And if you have any issues, like I said, about investing or other things, feel free to reach out to me directly, tim@above.space, or through the help system on Silicon Prairie. So with that, I hope you all have a great weekend, and we will talk to you all in a couple weeks with Rhonda and Tom.